back to Coffee Talk. This is John once again. We're hanging out, having fun. He's got minions. I have Te Amo. We have a couple of llama ones. I have 3 llama mugs. I don't know what's up with that, but
there's a theme going now.
Right? Exactly. Well, welcome back to Coffee Talk. And if you haven't been here before, please hang out, subscribe, hit the subscribe button. I'm getting better at asking about that because I forget. But eventually it'll just become part of what I say. And if you're new here, Coffee Talk is all about having conversations that really help us to learn about each other. It's about life. What would you say Coffee Talk is?
Yeah, it's a generalization, I think, of just life in general.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Yeah. Life in general. And how do we be more aware of who we are? It's really, honing in on those emotional intelligence skills and just having conversations and having a space to feel safe enough to have conversations. Yeah. I don't know if that's even possible on the internet these days, but that's my goal, right?
Yeah.
And that's what I offer in general. So John and I were... Well, go ahead, sorry.
Very safe place, yeah. Very comfortable.
Thank you. I think, to me, like, having been through so much in my life and my own traumas and all of those things, the thing that made me move forward the most was being in the presence of somebody who really listened and understood and validated me. And I will never forget that. And that's exactly why I offer safe spaces for people, because that helped me to move forward in a way that I could live my life for me and not live my life on autopilot and live it for what everybody else was telling me to do. Yeah. So it's like, I think that space is crucial to feel seen and heard.
Oh, yes, definitely.
Yeah.
I appreciate it so much. It's opened me up quite a bit more.
Yay. Yeah, that's exciting. I love that. And I have other guys that are messaging me too, and just being grateful for this space and having a guy be open about what's going on in their own lives with everything from anxiety to depression to, being a stay-at-home dad, all of that stuff. Yeah. And John and I, he's been here for, I don't know, maybe an hour already.
Something like that,
Yeah. And, we had the plan of coming and talking about anxiety today. Anxiety, can I say that?
Yeah.
And I think we'll do that, but we were just talking in general how we kind of didn't feel like talking today. So it's like...
One of those days, I was like, okay, we'll do it.
Yeah, so we're going to film and see if this works out. And if it does, we'll just... Obviously, you'll be watching this. But, we were having a conversation about anxiety the other day. Because, number one, anxiety is one of the top... There's 4 top mental health challenges across the world. And the top 2 are anxiety and depression. And they're very common. And they're also stigmatized because it's part of mental health. And we really need more discussions about anxiety and depression. What does it look like? And how do we move forward from it, right? Yeah. So when you have anxiety, like, why do you think you have anxiety? And what goes on for you when things are feeling anxious?
I know for me, I think it's almost that fight or flight type of situation where something's up, but you don't know how to deal with it.
Yeah.
And I think keying in on that and learning how to deal with it is important.
Yeah.
And I've learned quite a bit, and I think my anxiety over the years has gotten a little bit better, but I still do it. Like the other day when we were talking about it, I just had eye surgery on my right eye. Well, that's my good eye. And I was just wound up for a couple days in a row, and then right after the surgery I was sore and tired, and I couldn't figure out what had happened, and then I got to thinking, it's the anxiety. I got myself all worked up over it. This is my good eye. What happens if something goes wrong with it? It freaked me out a little bit, but I didn't realize it until after the fact.
Yeah. Well, what I find that's interesting, number one, is you started to realize, like, oh, wait a minute, this is anxiety.
Yeah.
So that's that self-awareness piece, right? And so it's like, before you became aware of, like, anxiety, what would it look like when you had, like, all those things going on? Like, well, let's talk first for a second about anxiety is felt within our bodies, right? I mean, for me, when I get anxious, my heart rate can sometimes feel like it's going up higher. My palms can be sweaty. I can have just feeling like my body isn't working right.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean, same, yeah.
Yeah, and sometimes probably TMI, but we hate to say diarrhea, but I mean that really happens.
Oh yeah.
Really happens like when I have anxiety that I cannot control, or I feel like I can't control, because your body works in tandem, right?
Yeah.
Like we cannot suppress our immune system, or we cannot suppress our emotions without suppressing our immune system.
Mm-hmm.
It works in tandem.
Yeah.
So, and a lot of times anxiety is our emotions that we might not recognize what's going on, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So before you recognize what anxiety was, do you have any like recollection of what life was like before?
It's a lot more frustrating, I think, because I didn't know how to deal with it, or what tools to use to kind of alleviate that anxiety. And I don't know.
Yeah. I know it's a hard question.
Yeah.
I was like, well, what was it like before? I mean,
It was definitely harder, that's for sure. But I've always been open to and trying new things and figure out what would work better for me, or people around me in that situation. But anxiety has been a huge one for me through school, through growing up, and all that. And I held everything in, and I think that was a lot of my health issues too. Was just that anxiety of, do I fit in here? Is that person gonna like me? Or am I doing the right thing? People pleaser.
Oh yeah.
And trying to let that go and understand, what can I do differently?
Yeah. Well, people pleaser, that's me, or I was a people pleaser. Do you feel you're still a people pleaser?
Yeah, oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah. I am a little bit maybe, but for the most part I've learned that it's okay to not be perfect. It's okay, and if somebody doesn't like me, it's okay from those things, but it took a lot of work.
Yeah.
And I've talked about Gabor Mate before, but he really does. There's so many videos that he has out there, but he talks about like in childhood, if you grew up in an environment where you didn't feel you were good enough, or you had to work to feel seen and heard and loved, just due to different environments. What if our parents were just too busy to even notice us, or all these things? This isn't about shaming and blaming parents. It's really about how did we grow up and what did that look like? Because if we grow up and our needs are being met, then we don't necessarily utilize the people-pleasing skill. It is a survival tactic.
Yeah.
And it's becoming aware of that. Asking yourself, am I a people pleaser? And
yeah.
And it's not easy. It's been hard.
Yeah. Oh, definitely. It's a fine line of just trying to figure out, do I please this person? Do I do this for myself? Am I a good person for not doing this? Am I a bad person? And it creates all that anxiety, and it builds up. And
yeah.
But it's just figuring out how to let that go. Yeah.
Have you figured out how to let it go, or are there some things you have in place that help you?
I still harbor a lot of that anxiety. It's still hard for me. It's set in my brain now. This is where it needs to go, and I need to push it in. But letting it go for me has been easier and easier as I work with it.
Yeah.
It's like with the kids, and they get all wound up, and then I get wound up, and the anxiety builds. But it's figuring out, okay, how do I want to do this differently, where I'm not so suppressing everything, where my health is not at risk because I'm doing this. And it's been quite the journey to figure that out.
Yeah. Well, and the part of the journey is really, again, acknowledging it.
Mm-hmm.
And there are things like, there's strategies that we can add into place. And a lot of that is really using the 5 senses, believe it or not.
Yeah.
Like being present in the moment and like trying to figure out, asking yourself, okay, where is that anxiety coming from?
Yeah.
What is creating that feeling within me? That gives us more tools to utilize and move forward from it. Because if you can kind of name why it's there, it becomes a little bit easier.
Yes.
Number one.
Yeah.
Right? It's like naming the emotion. Wait a minute, I'm really pissed off right now. I mean, is that an emotion? Anger. Pissed off, anger. Yeah. When we can name those things, it becomes a little bit easier because we're giving them that space to feel seen or to feel heard or to be present versus shoving them down and allowing them to accumulate.
Yeah.
Right?
Layer upon layer upon layer, and then finally, you've had enough where you just let loose. And but you can't do that. It's so hard on your system.
It is.
Yeah.
It's hard physically and mentally, emotionally, all of that. I think we all know what happens when you stick a Mentos. Is it just regular Coke? See, I'm learning. Or does it have to be Diet Coke?
I'm not sure. I'm doing that one, but I think it's the Diet Coke. I don't know, something like the Diet Coke.
Right? Well, yeah. So I guess I don't even know exactly. I just know if you stick Mentos in a Coke, it explodes, right?
Yeah.
Well, that's a natural reaction. And if you leave the top off, it's going to bubble out. It's going to move everywhere. It's going to move through the motion.
Yep.
But if you put a cap on that baby, you're letting all of that bubble up and it's going to explode at some point, right?
Yeah.
And that's how we as humans are too. We need the ability to flow freely in our energy. And energy helps us to heal. It can help us to move forward. But if we're depressed or anxiety, as we talked about on another episode, depression comes from deprimere, which means to press down. So depression is the suppression of emotions. All of those kind of things make it so hard, but naming what it is. That's
a big game changer there, yeah. Because then you defy it, you know what it is, and then you can change it.
Yeah, right? It's so interesting. For a number of years, I was it's a system of care. I was in wraparound as a family partner, and there's a lot of trainings that we go through, but one of the trainings that I love so much was, when you have hard conversations are hard, right? Mm-hmm. There could be anxiety. There can be just not even wanting to share. Many people don't want hard conversations. We avoid them. We will do anything we can. We'll suppress. We will people please in order to not have to have a difficult conversation. Yeah. But what I have found and what some of these trainings helped me to realize is when you name that, then it becomes easier. So if you're coming to a really difficult conversation and you're naming it, saying, this might be a really hard conversation. It's hard for me. I'm having some anxiety over it. And I just want you to know, that's what's going on. But naming the anxiety, naming that it's hard, actually creates just this feeling of ease to be able to move forward. It doesn't mean it's hard.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean
it goes away. It just means that you can deal with it a different way. At least that's is for me. I could go, okay, I'm having a hard time with the kids or something like that, and I can take a different approach to where I'm not holding that anxiety, and I can talk about it or go a different route. Yeah. Well,
and if we look at all of our emotions are messengers. So if anxiety is, coming up, again, it's that self-awareness piece of what is it within me that's feeling this way. Mm-hmm. And talking to somebody, a therapist, a peer support specialist, a trusted friend, naming it and going, gosh, I'm not even sure why I'm feeling anxious right now. Yeah. And sometimes that helps you to get through. But some of the things that, strategies that they talk about are, things like having your feet on the grass on a summer day. Yeah. For some people it might not work. My daughter hates it. However, but coming back to our five senses, smelling something that makes you feel, less stress. Lavender seems to be a big one people think. Mm-hmm. I love vanilla. Vanilla reminds me of my mom. There's certain senses, but there's, to taste something. There's actually studies that have been done that certain flavors of Jolly Ranchers can actually calm us. I don't recall what flavors they were. It was at a training that I did a while back. Big surprise. But I just remember those things like walking barefoot on grass or, having a cup of coffee if that's what makes you feel centered in that moment. But using our five senses to come back to the present moment can really help alleviate some of the anxiety that you might be feeling.
Mm-hmm. Breathing for me was a big one because I hold that breath in and that's hard for your body. But just that deep breathing and getting into a situation where you're going to have a hard time. But it's breathing. I think it was key for me to just keep breathing through it, push through it, and hold it in.
Yeah. There was also a study. This is so funny. I have random facts, but then I don't remember all of it. But again, I was in a training and they did say, like, almost across the board, every single human, when they have something that is stressful or, the flight, freeze, or fawn, like that trauma system kicks in, we hold our breath.
Mm-hmm.
It's true. It's like I put that to the test back when I did that training, and it was true. I was holding my breath. So being mindful of
deep breathing and getting that oxygen, get the blood flowing.
Yeah. Is there any other strategies that help you besides the deep breathing? Like things that are your go-to?
Just taking a moment. If I'm in a situation where I can, I'll step back and, okay, I just need to breathe and maybe go outside, have the wind in my hair, short hair, whatever.
In your beard.
Yeah. Having a good cup of coffee, like to say, that's kind of my go-to. I haven't been drinking as much, but because that's another thing where it gives you the jitteries and anxiety builds up there.
Yeah, right.
Darn if you do and darn if you don't. But,
so true.
there's little things. The little things in life for me now are really important. Kids smiling and having a good time, or Lori's happy and she's enjoyed her day. Where I used to harbor a lot of that. Well, anxiety would build up from that.
Yeah.
And I was a people pleaser.
Yeah. It's so true.
Yeah.
Some of the things for me now, because eating food can also be a comforting strategy, and we can utilize it, in negative ways.
Yeah.
That could be a coping strategy of its own, right?
Yeah.
However, being mindful with what it is you might need in that moment. For me, I can't have chocolate anymore because I'm allergic to dairy, which is unfortunate. But sometimes just taking, a piece of chocolate, if you could have it. Chocolate does, the ones that are higher in
the cacao or
the cocoa. How do you say that?
The cocoa powder, yeah.
Yeah, the cocoa. Yeah. Anyway, the things that are high, the darker chocolate.
Yeah. There you go. What's wrong with that?
The darker the chocolate, the more I think the antioxidants and the more that it releases like the serotonin and happy chemicals. So it's like certain foods do that, and taking that moment to just like let it melt in your mouth, or with the Jolly Rancher. I love to hike. That is my go-to, is hiking. And we live in a good area to hike. Except for if you run into cougars.
Yeah.
Which has happened to me. So if y'all want to hear that story, maybe I will tell it someday. Drop it in the comments and know. But I did run into a cougar. It was pretty scary.
Oh, that is scary. I had a few instances out hunting, and they're following behind you, and they're there, but yeah. Yeah,
it's scary. I don't want to be the hunted.
No. No. Your hair on the back of your neck stand up, and
my legs were shaking. I have never shook so much in my life. And I had my dog with me and my friend.
Oh.
And she started to run.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I told her not to.
No, don't do that.
Again, that's another
story.
Stand your ground. So anyone out there who has, what's your go-to for anxiety strategies? Drop them in the comments below. Let us know. Let us all work together to find out what works for us. But we just wanted to have a conversation about anxiety. It's real. It is one of the top 2 mental health challenges in the world. And so let's just make it normal. Like, normalize it. Anxiety is real. It's part of life. Certain things taxes can make you anxious. Work can make you really anxious. Are you in a work environment that is supportive, or are you in a work environment where, hierarchy makes you feel stressed out?
Yeah.
That's a whole other conversation too with work environments. Maybe another time. But anyway, it's been fun. We're gonna hang out somewhere. We're gonna close this off. But please, you know what? Leave in the comments your strategies on anxiety, and come back. Hit the subscribe button. Follow me and John. He's occasionally here. More though. I like it.
Yeah.
It's fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice
Go
to
ahead.
chat.
Yeah. This is what we do post COVID and being stay-at-home parents. Is we're hanging out, doing coffee talk, and having conversations.
Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway,
Right.
have a beautiful day.
Bye.
Cheers, y'all.